Our firm probably delivering 3,000 units to the marketplace right now in construction, and has another 3,000 to 4,000 units on the boards ready to be delivered. Like most cities, Boston is urbanizing, driven by two primary markets: the millennials on the one hand, those who we want to capture and keep in our city, that are renters primarily and want to live and work in the city, and the baby boomers, folks like me and others who may be empty nesters at this point in time and are looking to sell their homes in the suburbs and move back into the city for all of the great things that cities have to offer. So urbanization in Boston continues, and we're in the midst of a very, very active housing boom. One of the challenges that we're experiencing is rising construction prices. So I'll give you an example. Some of the projects we're working on cost over $300 to $350 a square foot. They have structured parking, typically below grade, at a reduced level, which is good because they're transit oriented and people don't need their cars as much in the city as they do in the suburbs. That helps. But we're also looking at market rate product, generally speaking, and trying to find ways to deliver rental product competitively for a workforce housing user. And that promise remains somewhat unfilled. This is a trend that many urban cities across the country are experiencing. Boston is no different. New York City is looking at micro units as a way to provide smaller unit living and to get the size of the unit to come down so that the cost per square foot or the rent per square foot can come down. But I'll give you an example of what market rate micro units or small units are renting for in Boston. It's over $2,000 a month for 350 square feet in a beautiful building that's new and ground up with fabulous amenities in addition to the amenities that the city has to offer. The buildings themselves are differentiating themselves from one another by looking for new and unique benefits to offer to their renters. So this is a very, very active environment, but prices are rising and it's beginning to dampen the exuberance in the marketplace. There are some concerns about absorption, but we think the concerns about absorption are a bit overplayed, and we think the demand in Boston and the greater Boston area is still there for continued growth in new and renovated product, and we do both. The other thing I wanted to mention is that as construction prices rise and larger projects get in the ground, we're looking a lot at infill work, so projects 50, 100, 150 units, frequently built out of combustible construction. Stick-built is the vernacular typically referred to in the multifamily housing business. Those are still generally delivered by union labor, but the stick-built product is less expensive than the steel or the poured-in-place concrete product. Because it's less expensive, the rents are lower, and that product is ensuing in a lot of the communities around the edges of Boston. You can't build more than 5 floors of combustible construction on top of a podium, so they can't be higher than 6 floors total as a product type, and the podium is typically a retail space or some other separated space from the 5 floors of housing that sit above it. So there are some limitations on height, and there are some limitations on area. You can build certain stick-built product out by achieving higher fire ratings of some of the assemblies. So high-rise, mid-rise, and stick-built construction is ongoing at very high densities, and we don't see it ending anytime soon. The challenges, I think, are moderating construction prices. More supply will help dampen the rent increase, not to everybody's liking, I may add. New product coming online is still hoping to rent for $4, $5, $6, $7 a square foot on the average, and in the city core or places like the Seaport in Boston, very, very close to the financial district, compact, growing, vibrant, active, mixed-use environment. Those rents are the typical rents. In the suburban areas, or the outer urban as we like to call it, those rents will be less. But that product is still expensive. So my product might be $250 to $280 a square foot versus the over $300 a square foot I mentioned earlier. Those are some of the things that are happening right now, and it's good that there are this many units coming online because those two demographics I mentioned really want to live and work in the city, and we need the housing. And we will see in the next several years, with all of these units coming online, we'll see who exactly that renter is and what exactly happens with those rent prices that I mentioned.